I'm charging my phone. Like this side. Hey y'all, I'm about to go ahead and read my book with y'all. The Mountain is You. I said, you know what? Let me try to fix my hair because I was looking hella crazy this morning. And I just wanted to look a little bit presentable. Yeah. I'll be right there, y'all. I'm coming. Do y'all put Vaseline on y'all lip? I be putting Vaseline on my lip, y'all. Thank you for the like. I'm trying to. Hold on, give me a second. Y'all, I'm coming, y'all. Just give me a second. I'm coming, give me a second. Is it only me? But although I'm home, I still like to spray my. I still like to smell good at home. This is the juicy, ultra juicy Zara Day collection. I love this scent. It's very light. Very light. It has like a clean, and I don't typically, I love scents that are very sweet. My face needs something on there. Hold on, y'all. I really like sweet scents, but I'm now getting into non-sweet scents. So let's put you guys on this tripod stand. Girl, I keep on hitting the mute button. I keep on hitting the mute button. But anyways, we're going to read chapter 2. The mountain is you. Where is my pen? This is what I sprayed in my house today. When I said this scent smells so good, I got this from Ross, $3.99. As you can see, I use it a lot because it's like down here. Oh, you know what I can do? I can take off. I'm going to remove this so I could just have the amber bottle, looking bottle. But this is really good. It smells, it says Abbey and Sullivan sandalwood eucalyptus scent, luxury room and linen spray. So I spray this on my chair, all up in the air. It's really good. So since I haven't had a drink in a long time, we'll be drinking some kombucha. This is the Pink Lady Apple. We'll be drinking it in a wine glass because your girl ain't had nothing to drink in a long time. It says follow your gut. So, cheers. One thing with this, you have to be strong to drink this. Let me see if I can charge up my phone. I don't think so. It's really not that bad. You just would normally taste the apple cider vinegar. But other than that, it's okay. It's actually pretty good. Iced. This is my first time drinking it with ice. And I think, and I don't drink nothing that's super cold, but it tastes very refreshing with the ice. Whew. Can y'all tell I was thirsty? All right. Let's get this show on the road. It felt like I was sitting on my pen. Y'all know I need my pen because, yeah. Because if we find a word in the book that we don't know, what we do, we just write it down in this book and then we look it up. Okay, here goes chapter 2. You know what I need to get? I need to get a bookmarker, or actually make one. Anyone. So, bring y'all a little bit closer. Oh, much better, right? I don't know why. Maybe because I have the ring light on me. Hold on, y'all. Trying to avoid from flashing you guys. It looks so... It looks so washed out. It looks more washed out when... I don't know, y'all. Anyways. So the book we're reading is called The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. Chapter 2 says, there's no such thing as self-sabotage. When you habituate yourself to do things that move your life forward, you call them skills. When they hold your life back, you call them self-sabotage. They are both essentially the same thing. Sometimes it happens by accident. Sometimes we just get used to living a certain way and fail to have a vision for how life could be different. Sometimes we make choices because we don't know how to make better ones or that anything else is even possible. Sometimes we settle for what we're handed because we don't know we can ask for more. Sometimes we run our lives on autopilot for long enough that we begin to think we no longer have a choice. However, most of the time, it's not accidental at all. The habits and behaviors you can't stop engaging in, no matter how destructive or limiting they may be, are intelligently designed by your subconscious to meet an unfulfilled need, displaced emotion. Hi, Varja. How are you doing? Or neglected desire. Overcoming self-sabotage is not about trying to figure out how you override your impulses. It is first determining why those impulses exist in the first place. Self-sabotage is often misunderstood to be a way in which we punish, deride, or intentionally hurt ourselves. On the surface, this seems true enough. Self-sabotage is committing to a healthier diet and finding yourself pulling up to the drive-thru a few hours later. It's identifying a market gap, conceiving unprecedentedly brilliant business idea, then getting distracted and forgetting to begin working on it. It's having strange and terrifying thoughts and allowing them to paralyze you in the face of important life changes or milestones. Hi, I am Ari28. Hey, boo. It is knowing you have so much to be grateful for and excited about, and yet worrying anyway. We often misattribute these behaviors to a lack of intelligence, willpower, or capability. That is usually not the case. Self-sabotage is not a way we hurt ourselves. It is a way we try to protect ourselves. What is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is when you have two conflicting desires. One is conscious, one is unconscious. You know how you want to move your life forward, and yet you are still, for some reason, stuck. When you have big, ongoing, unsurmountable issues in your life, especially when the solution seems so simple, so easy, and yet so impossible to stick with, what you have are not big problems, but big attachments. People are pretty incredible in the fact that they basically do whatever they want to do. This is true of everything in human life. Regardless of the potential consequences, human nature has revealed itself to be incredibly self-serving. People have an almost superhuman way of doing whatever they feel compelled to, regardless of whom it could hurt, what wars it could sprung, or what future would be put at risk. When you consider this, you begin to realize that if you're keeping something in your life, there has to be a reason you want it there. The only question is why. This light is bothering me, y'all. Damn. It's really bothering me. I'll turn it off. Some people can't figure out why they can't seem to motivate themselves enough to create a new business to facilitate their goal of becoming significantly wealthier, perhaps not realizing that they have a subconscious belief that to be rich is to be egocentric or disliked. Or perhaps that they actually don't want to be super wealthy. Maybe it's a cover up for wanting to feel secure and taken care of. Or their real desire is to be recognized for their art. And as this feels too unlikely to ever happen, they fall back on a secondary dream that doesn't actually motivate them. I like to hear the noise on the outside, especially the birds. Some people say that they want to be successful at any cost and yet don't want to log the hours of work it would take to get them there. Perhaps it is because they understand at some level that being successful doesn't really make you happy nor liked. In fact, The opposite tends to be true. Success usually exposes you to jealousy and scrutiny. Successful people are not loved in the way that we imagine they would be. They are usually picked apart because envious people need to humanize them in some way. Perhaps instead of being successful, what many really want is just to be loved, and yet their ambition for success directly threatens that. Some people can't figure out why they keep choosing the wrong relationships, people whose patterns of rejection, abuse, and refusal to commit seem to be consistent. Perhaps they don't realize that they are actually recreating the relationship dynamics that they experienced when they were young. Excuse me. Because they associate love with loss or abandonment. Perhaps they want to recreate family relationships in which they felt helpless, but to live them alone again as an adult, where they can help the addict, the liar, or the broken person. When it comes to self-sabotaging behaviors, you have to understand that sometimes it's easy to get attached to having problems. Being successful can make you less liked. Finding love can make you more vulnerable. Making yourself less attractive can guard you. Playing small allows you to avoid scrutiny. Procrastinating puts you back in a place of comfort. All the ways in which you are self-sabotaging are actually ways that you are feeding a need you probably did not even realize you have. Overcoming it is not only a matter of learning to understand yourself better, but realizing that your problem is not problems, they are symptoms. You cannot get rid of the coping mechanism and think you've solved the problem. What does self-sabotage look like? It's impossible to say decisively what self-sabotage does or does not or doesn't look like. Because certain habits and behaviors that can be healthy for one person can be unhealthy in another context. With that said, there are definitely some specific behaviors and patterns that are typically indicative of self-sabotage. And they usually relate to being aware that there's a problem in your life. Yet, feeling the need to perpetrate it regardless, here are some of the main signs that you're probably in a cycle of self-sabotage. Resistance. Resistance is what resistance is what happens when we have a new project that we need to work on and simply can't bring ourselves to do it. It's when we get into a great new relationship and then keep balling or bailing on plans. It's when we get an amazing idea for our business and then feel tension and anger when it comes time to sit down and actually get to work. We often feel resistance in the face of what's going on right in our lives, not what's going wrong. When we have a problem to solve, resistance is normally or usually nowhere to be found. But when we have something to enjoy, create, or build, we are tapping into a part of ourselves that is trying to thrive instead of just survive, and the familiarity can be daunting. How to solve this? Resistance is a way of slowing down and making sure that it's safe to get attached to something new and important. In other cases, It can also be a warning sign that something isn't quite right, and you might need to step back and regroup. Resistance is not the same thing as procrastination or indifference and shouldn't be treated as such. When we are experiencing resistance, there is also a reason, and we have to pay attention. If we try to force ourselves to perform in the face of resistance, it usually intensifies the feeling. And we are strengthening the internal conflict and triggering the fear that's holding us back in the first place. Instead, releasing resistance requires us to refocus. We have to get clear on what we want as well as when and why we want it. We have to identify unconscious beliefs that are preventing us from showing up. And then we have to step back into the work when we feel inspired. Wanting is the entryway to showing up after resistance. Hitting your upper limit. As discussed before, there is only a certain amount of happiness that most of us will allow ourselves to feel. Gay Hendricks calls this your upper limit. Your upper limit is essentially the amount of good that you're comfortable having in your life. It is your tolerance and threshold for having positive feelings and experiencing positive events. When you begin to surpass your upper limit, you start to unconsciously sabotage what's happening in order to bring yourself back to what's comfortable and familiar. For some people, this manifests physically, often as aches, pains, headaches, or physical tension. For others, it manifests emotionally as resistance, anger, guilt, or fear. It might seem totally counterintuitive, but we are not really wired to be happy. We are wired to be comfortable, and anything that is outside of that realm is of comfort feels threatening or scary until we are familiar with it. How to resolve this? Hitting your upper limit is a really great sign. It means that you're approaching and surpassing new levels of your life, and that it's first and foremost something to congratulate yourself for. The way you resolve an upper limit problem is by assimilating yourself to your new normal, or acclimating. That word is acclimating. Acclimating yourself to new levels. Instead of shocking yourself into big changes, allow yourself to slowly adjust and adapt. By taking it slow, you are allowing yourself to gradually reinstate a new comfort zone around what you want your life to be. Over time, you gradually shift your baseline to a new standard. Uprooting. Uprooting happens when someone finds themselves jumping from relationship to relationships or changing their business website again and again when they really need to focus on confronting relationship issues when they arise or taking care of clients they already have. In uprooting, you are not allowing yourself to blossom. You are only comfortable with the process of sprouting. It might be constantly needing a fresh start, which is often the result of not having healthy ways to deal with stress or struggling with conflict resolution. Uprooting can be a way of diverting attention from the actual problem in your life, as your attention must go toward reestablishing oneself at a new job or a new town. Ultimately, uprooting means you are always just beginning your new chapter by never really finishing it. Despite your efforts to keep moving on, you end up more stuck than ever before. How to resolve this? First, recognize the pattern. One of the primary symptoms of uprooting is not realizing that one is doing it. Therefore, the most important steps is to become aware of what's happening, trace back your steps over the past few years, how many places have you moved or worked, then figure out what is driving you away from each thing you find. Next, you need to get clear on what you really want. Sometimes uprooting occurs because we step too quickly toward what we think we want, only to find that we didn't think it through and don't really want that thing very much. Clarity is key because you're thinking long term now. What would it look like to choose one place to live, then build connections there? What would it look like to work at the same place and move up in your position or build your business? Remember that healing from your uprooting partner is not about settling for something you don't want, nor is it about staying in an unsafe or unhealthy situation because you don't want to move again. It's about getting clear and determined on what's the right path for you and then making a plan for how you can thrive, not just survive. When the moment comes that you would typically flee, confront the discomfort and stay where you are. Figure out why you are uncomfortable getting attached to one thing or another and determine what a healthy attachment would look like for you. Perfectionism. When we expect that our work must be perfect the first time we do it, we end up getting into a cycle of perfectionism. Perfectionism is usually wanting everything to be right. It's not a good thing. In fact, it is a hindering thing because it sets up unrealistic expectations about what we are capable of or what the outcomes of our lives could be. Perfectionism holds us back from showing up and trying or really doing the important work in our lives. This happens because when we are afraid of failing or feeling vulnerable or not being as good as we want others to think we are, we end up avoiding the work that is required to actually become that good. We sabotage ourselves because it is the willingness to show up and simply do it again and again and again that ultimately brings us to a place of mastery. How to resolve this? Don't worry about doing it well, just do it. Don't worry about writing a bestseller, just write. Don't worry about a Grammy winning hit, just make music. Don't worry about failing, just keep showing up and trying. At first, all that matters is that you do what you really want. From there, you can learn from your mistakes and over time get to the place where you really want to be. The truth is that we actually do not accomplish great feats when we are anxious about whether or not what we do will indeed be something impressive or and world changing. We accomplish these sorts of things when we simply show up and allow ourselves to create something meaningful and important to us. Instead of perfection, focus on progress. Instead of having something done perfectly, focus on just getting it done. From there, you can edit, build, grow, and develop it to exactly what your vision is. But if you don't get started, you'll never arrive. Limited emotional processing skills. In life, there are going to be people, situations, and circumstances that are upsetting, infuriating, saddening, and even engaging. There will likely there will likewise be people, situations, and circumstances that are inspiring, hopeful, helpful, and truly offer purpose and meaning in your life. When you are only able to process half of your emotions, you stunt yourself. You start going out of your way to avoid any possible situation that can bring up something frustrating or uncomfortable because you have no tools to be able to handle that feeling. This means that you start avoiding the very risk and actions that would ultimately change your life for the better. In addition, in inability to process your emotions means you get stuck with them. You sit and dwell on your anger and sadness because you don't know how to make them go away. When we can only process half of our emotions, we ultimately only live half of our life we really want to. This is kombucha, y'all. How to resolve this? Healthy emotional processing looks different for everyone, but generally involves these steps. Get clear on what happened. Validate your feelings. Determine a course correction. First, you need to understand why you're upset or the reasons why something is bothering you so much. Without clarity on this, you'll continue to waste your time mulling over the details without really understanding what's hurting you so much. Next, you have to validate how you feel. Recognize that you are not alone. Anyone in your situation will probably feel similarly or and does, and that what you feel is absolutely okay. In doing this, you can allow yourself a physical release such as crying, shaking, journaling about what you feel, or taking or talking to a trusted friend. Once you are clear on what's wrong and have allowed yourself to fully express the extent of your emotions, you can determine how you will change your behavior or thought process so that you get an outcome that you really want in the future. Justification. Your life is ultimately measured by your outcomes, not your intentions. It is not about what you wanted to do or what have done but didn't have the time. It's not about why you thought you couldn't. It's just whether or not you eventually did. When you're in a pattern of self-sabotaging behavior, you often treating those excuses the same way you would treat measurable outcomes. You're using them to make yourself feel momentarily satisfied, using them as a replacement for the accomplishment itself. When we have a goal, dream, or plan, there is no measure of extent or intent. It is only whether you did it or did not. Any other reason you offer for not showing up or doing the work is simply you stating that you prioritize that reason over your ultimate ambition, which means that it will always take precedence in your life. You may also be using excuses to help navigate away from uncomfortable feelings that are ultimately necessary for your growth. How you resolve this? Start measuring your outcomes and focusing on at least doing one productive thing each day. It's no longer about how many days you really wanted to go to the gym. It's about how many days you did. It's no longer about wanting to show up for your friends. It's whether or not you did. It's no longer about the great ideas you had about how you can change your business. It's about whether or not you did. Stop accepting your own excuses. Stop being complacent with your own justifications. Start um, quantifying your days by how many healthy, positive things you accomplish, and you will see how quickly you begin to make progress. That's what I was talking. Y'all, what? What? All right, live is done, y'all. See y'all tomorrow. What?